Hey guys, it is Doom here, and we got another patch, and it's a small one, but quite a good one. So the first thing that I've noticed is we can stim while diving, apparently, which I'll have to see how that works. I don't really know if there's actually been a time where I'm like, let me just pop a stim while diving. We'll see how that actually plays out. The amendment got an ergonomics buff. I'm not really sure why. The amendment was already really strong. This just makes it stronger. It was already a very easy gun to use. It was already a, mag dump light pen gun with high DPS. This just makes the amendment even stronger at that role. And a blanket Peacemaker buff. The Peacemaker being the default pistol. It is woefully behind the wealth of other sidearm options from things like Ultimatum for anti-tank, the Loyalist for just pure splash damage. It's an easy thing to buff because a lot of people drop off the Peacemaker as soon as they start getting their Warbond sidearms. This really only affects like low-level players and new players, so making the default Liberator and the Peacemaker feel better is a pretty decent step forward because that's what most people's first impression of the game is going to be. And if they're running around trying to kill stuff, it helps that it actually can kill stuff. There's some armor passive buffs that I also agree with, and I think I talked about these a little bit, specifically unflinching. I have actually talked about in videos. It was just woefully behind the curve of armors with its, reduced aim punch was just not enough compared to the other armors. So now it gives more armor, and it does the spotting feature that the scout armors used to do, which is really good because now unflinching and truth enforcers can go chase down into an area, put a ping on the objective, and you can see all the enemies in that area. It's a pretty decent thing. So like if you're coming up on an objective you're not at, and you can't, you're not within radar range, but you're close enough that you're approaching it, you can ping it on the map, and now you'd be like, oh, there's enemies there. And you can see what kind of size enemies there are and have an idea of like, do I want to throw something at this or not? They also buffed integrated explosives, which I believe is the martyrdom armor. It gives you +2 extra grenades, which is an awesome perk for that armor. Which is, it's basically the spam grenades and then go blow up and become a grenade armor, which is awesome. Stealth changes were interesting here. So the idea was being within 200 meters of them before, they would just start triggering spawns and reveal your location. Now it seems to be based on line of sight or being alerted by the enemy. So what happened before, and I don't know if this is particularly a good thing or a bad thing for the game, because I would argue in one case, stalker layers, stalkers are designed to hunt you down, and if they don't go off and get triggered until line of sight or a breach, it kind of reduces the whole vibe of like, oh my god, suddenly stalkers are trying to attack me. That is something that I think should stay. I think stalkers should be exempt from this, on a serious note, as far as the bugs go. But this has been changed so that things like shriekers will also, only spawn until you're within, or they'll spawn when you're within line of sight or alerting them. Don't like that changed for stalkers because I think that makes things easier. But they also made automaton fabricators spawn more enemies. Because they don't have line of sight most of the time until you're like right in front of it. So if they're pumping out regular little dudes all the time, that's fine. They're easy to kill. There's gonna be a lot of bug changes and lots of little fixes within this hot fix as well. The takedown overship mission has been, and this is like I said, we're done with the super earth defense, but clearly things still being rebalanced for the next time the Illuminate come back, if they ever do, which they never do, but they will. Planetary defense cannon, doing more damage at Leviathans. This is really appreciated because it's very hard to hit an overship, or not the overship, the Leviathans with the planetary defense cannon, and it taking 4, 5, 6 hits is super frustrating. Uh, I don't know why they would nerf harvesters to make them easier to kill using anti-tank. I really enjoyed the fact that they were hard to kill with anti-tank because they were round shaped. There was so many deflects you would get with recoils and other missiles. And if you have anti-tank, the leg joints are so weak already that you can, if you hit a recoilless at the right angle, you can one-shot a harvester. You know, once the shield's down, there's great options, and any sort of light pen can still hit the eyeball, and leg joints are such a weak point that so many things can already kill them. To make them easier to kill with anti-tank, I feel like kind of takes away their little niche and their little gameplay element. Prevent invasion foothold missions. Having less elevated overseers. It was actually crazy. How many there were. It was fun, but it was crazy. So reduce spawn on that. And overseers can spawn from landed dropships at outposts, adding variety to their battlefield presence. So this will allow squid ships to spawn overseers and squid staff guys and elevated overseers, I believe, at the same time, which will just make squids harder, which I'm all for on this. Leviathan getting some changes. Now, I will say, for those of you who are watching the regular videos on the channel, the videos I'm going to post today are before this change. So Leviathans are still going to be one-shotting my mech in the videos. It's been changed from 1500 to 350, which a Helldiver has 100 health, if I recall. This means Helldivers are still going to get killed on a direct hit, like they said, but it will also stop the immediate destruction of exosuits and FRVs. The explosion, damage, and radius have been increased to maintain lethality through area denial. So, they're still going to ragdoll you around like mad, and they're still going to, you know, kill your Helldiver, but should be able to survive a little bit longer in a mech. And it was very unfun, having your mech get one-shot, because there really isn't much counterplay. In the mech, you can sidestep a little bit, and sometimes it wouldn't hit you. But it doesn't particularly, there's not much you're dodging in an exosuit. Factory Striders got buffed so that their feet can no longer be a weak point to be shot by a single recoilless rifle shot. I never did this. I got a lot of YouTube comments of, Doom, did you know you can shoot it in the foot? And I'm like, yes, I know, I just forget. I prefer to go about the way sometimes the game is intended to be played, and clearly with this change, Arrowhead's intention is the feet are not the weak spot of the Strider. That wasn't what they really wanted out of the gameplay loop. Probably just a minor oversight on health values and things like that after changes to the recoilless and anti-tank throughout the game. But that's been changed. The rest seems like a bunch of fixes. Crash fix. They fixed the railgun scope. The scope had that charge up icon on it that wasn't working for a long time. You'd only get the side of the gun once. That's just a nice quality of life because that's how it's supposed to work. Trenchant tool stamina cost working right, and melee attacks working inside of shield bubbles correctly, which is weird. Some stingray bug death fixes. And some overship, take down overship. Deploy seismic probe, Oh, an issue where deploy seismic probe mission that could make it incompletable if you completed a LiDAR side objective while seismic probe had been called down. Man. And a fill with the drill not coming down on Nuke Nursery. And super sample spawns in megacities. So, just little tiny things like the jitter in the armory is fixed, which, oh, thank God, that was so bad. Missing attachments for Siege soldiers. More pathing stuff. Just really little bug fixes. What was this? Error messages if the game cannot load resources. A slide bug with lockstep. So, most of this patch is just some stealth changes, Leviathan changes, the pistol, and the armor passives, which are greatly appreciated. But I will say I'm not a fan of making the harvesters easier for anti-tank. I just think that was just like an unnecessary change. But that's really my 2 cents on this patch. I will get to this soon. I hear there are bug megacities, so please do not try to remind me there's bug megacities. I know what's up. Guys. So peace out. I'll talk to you dudes later.